I cannot work. There's literally no more time I can put in. I can't work any harder than I worked this year. What am I going to do? And the only obvious solution was to hire someone to do some of the stuff. So I hired an assistant at the end of that year, and no one had assistants back then. Like, right, I was in an office with 60, 70, 80 agents, and I was one of the youngest agents in the office, and no one had an assistant. And when I did, people were like looking at me like, "Who do you think you are?" Agents would make comments like, "What are you, the president now? You have an assistant?" And I'd be like, "Well, you've been stuffing envelopes for the last 4 hours."
Yeah, right.
I'm going to pay someone to do that so I can go out and sell more houses.
Sponsored by Spyglass Realty. If you're an agent listing in another city or state, we will take great care of your clients and pay a referral fee. If you're an agent in Austin that's thinking of making a move, let's talk.
I am here with Chris Heller, the CEO of Ojo Labs, former CEO of Keller Williams. He also has a team in San Diego, the Heller, what is it called? Heller sales team?
Heller the home seller.
Heller the home seller. So, I have gotten to be friends with Chris over the last couple of years, and I've coined a nickname for you. You're the godfather of real estate. I don't know if Ali told you that, but
so, I've been called worse.
So. Yeah, me too. So, I want to start with going through your journey into real estate, and we'll end up at Ojo. But will you take us back? So, where did you grow up, first of all?
I grew up in Irvine, and then when I was I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is in Central California. And at the end of my sophomore year, my dad called me. He was up in Lake Tahoe managing a timeshare resort. And he said, "Hey, you're going to get your real estate license and come up here and work for the summer." And I said, "Okay," which was really weird because I normally would never say anything okay to my dad. But I did. And then later that summer, he got an opportunity to come to San Diego and do the same thing. So I moved down to San Diego and then never left. So from the age of 20 on, so first 20 years in Irvine, from the age of 20 on in San Diego.
Okay, gotcha. And when you moved to San Diego, you're doing like vacation rental selling?
Yeah, so selling timeshare and going to school part-time. So got to the point where, so this was in the summertime, and then so when the school year started back up, I would take classes, but I was really liking the money and the opportunity that I had to make. So I started taking classes at night and part-time, and then just kept working. And it's a commission-only job, so they would let me work every day, and so I would work every day. And right before my 21st birthday, I'd already made enough money to buy my first my first home, which was a townhome in Carlsbad. And that was the beginning of that.
So let me ask you this: How was that your stereotypical vacation rental, or was it timeshare sales with the hard push? You give them the tour and all that.
Yeah, 90 days. They had to stay there for 90 days. So you had 90 days to sell them and get their credit card and charge it. Wow. And it was hardcore sales presentations like I had, which really helped me once I got into residential real estate. But I had no thoughts of getting into residential real estate at that point in time. But it was a great training for that. And it was hardcore. It was it was the old school, closing, type sales.
That's funny. One of my memorable experiences was working at a phone center for deluxe carpet cleaners. And it was a horrible job, but like, wow, it sure does, it's trial by fire, gets you used to, getting hung up on and all that stuff. So when you first got your real estate license, did you join a brokerage? Teams weren't that big back in those days, right?
No. So what happened was I was selling timeshares, and I actually It was weird. I actually had a dream about this guy last night, which was bizarre. But anyways, well, I was selling timeshares. I remember this vividly. It was the end of the day. Everyone had pretty much left. I was in the lobby of this resort and up on the second floor and just at the stairwell and just looking down, and this couple walked in. And I remember saying to myself, okay, there's my next sale. And I walked down to greet them, and it was like after hours, and they just sort of wandered in. Anyways, started talking to the guy. Make a long story short, he said, hey, I own a real estate brokerage up the street. I want to own one of these, but I don't want to pay for it. What I want you to do is come and present this to all my agents. And then as my agents refer people to you, you apply my referral fees towards me owning one. So I went and made a presentation to his office, or multiple presentations. And from that point on, for the next 3 years, he tried to recruit me into real estate. He would, every time I saw him, he said, hey, you should come work for me. You would love it. You'd be great at it. He would write me handwritten notes all the time. He would call me occasionally. And to make a long story short, 3 years later, I was meeting with him to, I was going to lease some space to start a marketing company on my own. And he just kept talking to me about it. And, I think he just sort of caught me at a weak moment. I said, okay, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And I got talked into getting into real estate. And that was, the end of 1988.
Okay. And when did you, so how long did you do that before you started putting your own team together?
So, so for the first month, it was November 1st, 1988. And for the first month, I had made the decision, okay, I'll give real estate a try, but I'm only going to sell commercial real estate. Like, I don't want to sell houses.
I did the same thing, except for multifamily.
Yeah. And but after a month and I knew nothing, zero about commercial real estate. And after a month of not really knowing what was going on, the condo that I bought, the townhome I bought, the gal that was the neighborhood specialist was the top agent in our office, and her cubicle was catty corner to mine. So for a month, I got to hear and see what she was doing, now as a consumer and as an agent in the office.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, I can do this. This would be cool. So that was December. I listed my first property. It was a for sale by owner, which was a funny story in and of itself. Listed it, sold it like 2 weeks later. In that year, I think it closed in January. That year, I sold 27 properties. I was rookie of the year in San Diego. I think 24 of the 27 were for sale by owners that I listed.
Yeah.
And at the end of that year, I remember having the thought, okay, how am I going to do more?
Yeah.
Because I worked a crazy amount. Like I worked 7 days a week. I wanted to always be the first one in the office, and the broker was a former Marine who got up early. And so he would be there like by 6:30 and open it up and make coffee and everything. So I was always there before him. And then I was always the last one to leave, like at 8 or 9 at night. And that was like 7 days a week. And so I was like, okay, I just sold 27 homes. I cannot work. There's literally no more time I can put in. I can't work any harder than I worked this year. What am I going to do? And the only obvious solution was to hire someone to do some of the stuff. So I hired an assistant at the end of that year, and no one had assistants back then. I was in an office with 60, 70, 80 agents, and I was one of the youngest agents in the office, and no one had an assistant. And when I did, people were like looking at me like, who do you think you are? Agents would make comments like, what are you, the president now? You have an assistant? And I'd be like, well, you've been stuffing envelopes for the last 4 hours.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to pay someone to do that so I can go out and sell more houses.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning of it. It wasn't, teams weren't a thing, that it wasn't a concept. It wasn't anything anyone thought about or talked about. It just, for me, it just evolved out of necessity. And then, then I started referring all my buyer leads to this agent from another company but every time he was showing my properties, like he did a really good job. You know, when he would call and check availability or give feedback, he was like really good. And I went to him and said, hey, how would you like to get all my buyer leads? The only catch is, instead of a 25% referral fee, I want 35%, because I'm going to give them, I'm not just giving you one, I'm going to give you on a regular basis. He said, okay. And then eventually we had a conversation. I said, look, why don't you just come work for me? And he did. So now I had an admin, administrative assistant and a buyer's agent. And then things just kept going and growing from there.
Were you with Keller Williams at that time?
No. So this was like, Keller Williams didn't exist in San Diego then. This was, 1990, 91. I was with Prudential, Prudential Real Estate. When Prudential's no longer in real estate, but they had in the 80s had gotten into real estate, Prudential Insurance Company of America, and grew to be a large national company. They had, by time I was in the top 10 in the country for them, and they had 37,000 agents nationwide. Ultimately, Prudential sold all their real estate operations to Berkshire Hathaway.
Right. So. And so how did you make the move, or when did you make the move, and why did you make the move to Keller?
Yeah. So it was in 2004. So I'd been with Prudential for like 15, 16 years. Never had the thought of moving. I remember thinking, I'm a sports fan, so we had Tony Gwynn on the Padres, and Tony Gwynn spent his whole career with the Padres and was an all-star. And I thought, yeah, I'll be the Tony Gwynn of real estate. And but I remember just having these thoughts like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen 10 years from now if I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah.
In Southern California, I couldn't buy enough real estate that would cash flow to create a bunch of passive income. I bought what I could when I could, especially during the downturns. But I was like, I don't own anything, and if I don't want to do this anymore in 10 years, I got this great income, but it's going to stop.
Yeah.
So I went to our broker and met with them and said, hey, I'm looking for another opportunity. I'm not asking you to give me anything, but I need an opportunity to own something or build something or generate something. And I said, and I'm looking at all my options, like maybe just start my own brokerage, or, go to another brokerage where there's lower fees or whatever. And we had multiple meetings, and then the net of those meetings was that he didn't or didn't want to, help me create any opportunities, which was fine, his prerogative.
So you were looking like more of like a team thing, right?
Yeah, I already had a team, but again, it was something that I wanted to have equity in business and businesses, because I wanted to create multiple streams of income and passive income.
Sure.
So right about that time, I got a call from a friend of mine who was a broker, who was actually, I met my first year in real estate. We worked in the same office, and she said, hey, everyone in San Diego. I'm starting this new brokerage called Keller Williams, and I need someone to manage it. Do you know anyone that'd be good? And I said, I don't know. If I think of anyone, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So then a few weeks went by, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I called her back and I said, now, what are you doing, and with what company? And she mentioned the company again. I'd never heard of them. And but she dropped off almost like an original copy of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I read that book, and I was like, oh my gosh, here's a company that's doing and teaching exactly what I do. It just took me 16 years of blood, sweat, and tears to figure it out. And here it is, all in a book.
Right.
And that really resonated with me. So that was the beginning of my Keller Williams journey. And eventually they flew out some people from Texas to meet with me, and ultimately I flew to Austin and met with the CEO and met with Gary, and the CEO asked me a question, and Mark Willis, and he said, it was like the end of the day. I spent the whole day there meeting with him. He said, what would it take to get you to join our company? And my answer was, if I knew that I had opportunities, if I could get opportunities based on my abilities and my results, and that would turn into opportunities for me. And I didn't know what type or had any specific ideas, but I just wanted to know that I'd have opportunities. Then I would make the move.
Yeah.
And he said, well, do you think you have influence over other agents and people? And I said, I don't know. I've never thought about that. He goes, well, do people in the industry respect you and like you? I go, yes, some do, some don't. There's a lot of agents who I've been beaten like a drum in San Diego, and they're not happy with, that I take their listings and,
Yeah.
but I said, I don't know. He goes, well, are you willing to find out? I said, yeah, I'm willing to find out. So I made the move, joined Keller Williams. That was 2004. 2006, launched a market center from scratch, which became the #1 market center in Southern California eventually. Invested in another couple, and then by 2010 I went to work for the company in Austin and became the president of the worldwide division, where I started launching Keller Williams globally.
Gotcha. Okay, so you launched the global part of Keller Williams. You did a lot of travel overseas.
Yeah, a lot of Skype calls, like which because that was before Zoom, but lots and lots of Skype calls day and night.
Yeah.
And then a lot of travel, which was really cool. It was a really good experience. It was hard because I created something out of nothing, right? No one at Keller Williams had any knowledge or expertise, nor did they just wanted me to do it and handle it.
Yeah.
It's yours, you figure it out and let us know how it's going. And if you need something.
Yeah. And that's really launched now. There's Keller Williams everywhere, right?
Yeah. By the time I did that for 5 years, and we were in over 20 countries. And then at the end of the 5 years, that's when I became the CEO of the whole company.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's so funny. I'm going to talk with you about this offline sometime, but somebody in my EO group recommended that I look at have you ever heard of fractional CFOs?
I know, I've heard of the concept.
Yeah, basically you pay someone, like a coach or whatever, to look at your stuff, and you might be a good candidate for that for me. Yeah, it's funny when you say, you didn't know, you wanted to leave. I mean, obviously I make a lot of recruitment calls, and it's so interesting when I talk to an agent that's at a brokerage, that's the only place they've been, they're not, really versed on anything where they're at. And then when I get them to come over, they're just surprised at what they did not know as far as like the systems and technology. And I want to get to that in a minute. But so let's talk about you stepped down from being the CEO of Keller Williams. And then how did that progress? Where did you get in with that?
Yeah. So I'd met the founders of Ojo while I was still the CEO. It was 2016, and had a great connection with them, loved the idea of what they were doing. In 2017, when I left KW, I actually became an early investor, and then they asked me to be an advisor to their company, which I did. And then in 2018, I again, unexpectedly, unplanned, just through some introductions, ended up joining Loan Depot, which is the second largest, non-bank lender in our country, and became the CEO of a sister company that was created called Mellow Home. So that was a cool experience, working inside a large national lender who was at scale. Did that for a year and a half. But during that time, I was an advisor for Ojo, and then they asked me to be on their board. And then in like the spring of 2019, I could tell they were growing and making good strides. And I started to have the feeling like, man, they could probably really use me full time. And before I ever said anything, they came to me and said, hey, we could really use you full time. Would you be willing to join the team and do it? And I really liked everyone there, and it was fun and exciting and startup environment. So
so for people that don't know, well, what does OjoLabs do?
Yeah, so we describe ourselves as a marketplace, and we have consumers that we match with service providers on the other side. So the service providers primarily are real estate agents or loan officers. How we get those consumers is primarily through a portal that we own. It was a company that we bought in 2020 called Movoto, Movoto.com, which is the 5th largest real estate portal in the country. So we have tens of millions of consumers each month that are visiting. That translates into hundreds of thousands of leads, which translates into 25 to 35,000 referrals every month that we're making to real estate agents around the country.
Wow.
And then agents pay us a referral fee. We're just starting to, in some markets, also connect consumers with mortgage lenders, and eventually want to have a complete marketplace to whatever the consumer needs to be able to help them get it.
Yeah. Okay. And do you, are you involved at all much with the SEO side of things?
Probably in the context that you're asking, the answer is probably no. Do I know? I know who the team is in our company that does that, and some of the things they do and how they do it. And
that's pretty much
I'm familiar with it, but not at the level to be able to execute on it.
Sure. But do you have at Ojo, do you have in-house SEO people?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's, up until this point, it's all been in-house.
Yeah. We, I mean, not that we have that much, and we go up between, I think most we've had is 30,000 visitors a month at ours, which is respectable. But we're now working with Neil Patel, and he's like, one of the SEO guys, and their team is really impressive implementing, they're more of an advisory role, but I think SEO is really important. And that kind of brings me to, technology, because I know it's a big part of what you guys do. I know I read your last article about technology. I was literally on an economic forecast right before this meeting, and the presenter was saying that automation and technology is going to be super important for real estate agents moving forward. And like the amount of digital services has gone up astronomically in the past 2 years, and as long as so has the amount of adoption from consumers, right? So when you think of like real estate agents and automation, that's a huge focus of what we try to do here at Spyglass, is provide that for our agents. But can you elaborate on that, and what types of automation technology you see what agents need, and what you see coming in the future?
Yeah. So Ryan, look, I'll start off by saying why I think they need it. Consumer behavior is changing at a faster pace than ever before, fueled by technology advances, right? Mm-hmm. And along hand in hand with consumer behavior are expectations that get created. So as a consumer, we have expectations now that are also shaping our behavior. Like, we want things, instantly. We want them. We want transparency. We want ease. We want it to be intuitive. If I buy a piece of technology, I don't want to have to go through a bunch of training and reading to figure out how to use it. I just want to pick it up and then have it just guide me through that process. And if I deal with a piece of technology that's not the case, I get frustrated, because I'm like, why should I have to read this? Why should I have to watch this? Like, you should just show me how to use it. Yeah. Or if we think about consumer behavior when it comes to like the most popular pastime of our country, it seems like shopping. We've all got spoiled by Amazon, right? We can go to Amazon, buy something in a click, return it in a click. We don't have to put in any information. Amazon knows all our information, has all our information. If I go to another site that I haven't been at before, and I have to put in my credit card information, my address, it's like, I can't believe I have to do this. Why don't they know this? It's like, our expectations have gotten so high.
Yeah.
So as service providers, we have to be conscious of what consumers want, what consumer behavior is, where consumer behavior is driving things. And then we have to be able to meet and exceed those expectations. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by leveraging technology. Right?
Yeah.
We need those tools to operate at a level that's consistent with where the rest of the world is.
Yeah. And it's something that I think about all the time. We had, I think, one of our best meetings ever yesterday, where we're launching a service for the agents that, you know, I started the meeting by this, right? Because I told my agents, it just came from my coach, John Sheplack, right? Is I want you guys to look at what it is you did in a season or month or time. Okay. Write it down. What was it? Okay. And, you know, open houses, internet leads, calling past clients, right? Well, as an industry, we have a habit of saying, what else can I do? Well, don't ask what else, but ask what more. Look at that sheet of paper where you wrote that down, right? So what we're trying to do as a brokerage, like we implemented social media, doing it for them for social media. We have seasonal gifts where they press a button and gifts go out to their top 20 people. You know, we're working on stuff right now, like voicemails, like you pre-recorded voicemail, like, hey, happy birthday, hope it's a great day. Like it goes on a slide dial, that type of stuff, so that they can work more on the stuff that they really know that makes money, open houses, internet leads, calling past client, whatever it is. And even to like, this is what we're looking at right now, is replacing the business card with NFC, so that when someone opens the put their phone on it, it opens a portal, it will auto-populate their information, goes into their CRM, they get the newsletter, they get retargeted on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, so when I read that article that you wrote, it kind of was reassuring to me, because sometimes I feel like I put too much time and energy to technology and automation, but it was like, yes, I get that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like the things are, at one level, things are changing and evolving faster than they ever had before.
Yeah.
And that rate of change is not going to slow down. And if anything, it'll speed up.
Yep.
At the same time, human connectedness is every bit as important as it has always been. So as a service provider, as a real estate agent, then, you know, that begs the question, okay, how do we leverage technology to help us make more connections and or deepen the connections that we have? And deepening the connections we have is probably more important now than ever before, because the consumers in my database, consumers in your database, are being inundated with all sorts of different offers from all sorts of different companies. And I'm just talking about real estate wise, you know, they are getting, if they're a seller, they're getting offers, you know, instant offers and solicitations to get an instant offer on their house.
Yeah.
They're being presented with new ways of selling their properties. If they're a buyer, they're getting presented with new ways of buying a property.
Yeah.
So, you know, we want to have those deep relationships with those people, so that when these offers come in, they're going, hey, Chris, I just heard about this. What do you know about it? Is this something I should check out?
Yeah.
Or better yet, I'm contacting them and saying, hey, Ryan, you know, I know you may not have any plans, but when you do, here's some things I want you to be aware of or available that we talk about, that may make your next move or your next purchase a lot different and a lot easier and a lot better than the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of those things is like, you know, like we had agents that lost listings to, you know, some of these iBuyers. So we partner with a platform that if we go to a listing appointment, we let people know, like, we're going to shoot your stuff out to all of the iBuyers, right? And then another thing, you know, on that same line of, you know, same note is like the cash buyer option, right? It you know, I think that the markets, days on market in Austin are like 15 right now, right? And it's insane. I mean, I know agents that are getting beat out on one of my agents, got beat out on a cash deal, 1.6 million right around the corner from here. And they've been beat out of 3 in the last week. And it's not just your $500,000 properties, it's everything. So now, but what I asked him before I found out it's cash, like if it's not cash and you're having a hard time compete, look, we have a mortgage solution here at our company, right? But my mortgage solution does not offer cash back. Okay. So I want our agents to have every tool in their disposal. And you hit the nail on the head there is, letting your consumers know about this before they try to find out on their own. We've actually just started making social media graphics and putting messaging out that we're going to be deploying over the next few weeks. But that's a big deal. Yeah. So
it's another way for the agents to be leveraging technology and platforms to provide, better and more service to consumers.
Yeah, Kelly is listening here, and just to put a note on our next monthly newsletter we send out on the agent's behalf, that needs to be front and center, like know your options, right? We've got pages about it. We just need to put it in a newsletter. What do you think, moving forward in the real estate industry, what do you think is on the horizon? Anything that you think?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I got a text message last weekend from a longtime friend who has one of the largest coaching companies in our industry, who everyone knows. And actually, this was 2 weekends ago. He said, "Hey, Happy New Year. I'm working on my talk for my big event coming up. If you were an agent today and knowing what you know, what would you be focused on over the next 3 years? Threats or opportunities?" So I responded and said, I'd be thinking about commission compression, more companies coming in contact with consumers before I will, and then making offers of value to them. And then the third thing is the market shifting. At some point the market's going to shift. Some parts of the country, it's already starting to show signs of that. So those are the 3 areas I'd be focused on. And then I never look at things as necessarily good or bad. I just look at them as, okay, where's the opportunity?
Right.
With commission compression. Okay, what am I going to do to demonstrate value? Because here's one thing that still holds true to this day, is that people will pay for value.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone does. I mean, look at the clothes we wear, the things we buy. If we think there's value, we will pay more to get it.
Sure.
And the same goes with service. But if we're not demonstrating that we're offering anything of significant value, then they're going to go somewhere else, or they're going to say, "Hey, we want you to charge us less." So look at, what can you do to strengthen your value proposition?
Yep.
As far as the other companies coming into the marketplace, the ibuyers, the power buyers, the referral networks, all these companies that and the Zillows and all of them that are coming in communication and contact with consumers before me as an agent will. Do I want to try to battle them and talk bad about them and tell consumers to stay away from them? That's a losing proposition and not great business. Instead, how can I leverage them? How can I be the one, like we said, bringing these opportunities to the consumer, which then is will be perceived as valuable to the consumers, right? We're bringing them ideas and solutions that they weren't familiar with. And those are the things that, I think we need to continue to look at. The market's going to, in the industry and the economy, things are going to keep changing. As far as the market shifting, for agents who haven't, and this is human nature, so it's not just agents, people tend to either have a short memory if things were different in the past and they forget about it, or if they haven't experienced it, they can't even comprehend it, right? So we've been in what I'll call the same type of market since about 2012, give or take. Part of the country they're in. So for the last 10 years, we've had this appreciating market where sellers have had more leverage than buyers, and then that's been amplified and magnified in the last couple of years. At some point those scales will tip and things will become more balanced, or even typical, or even possibly go in the other direction. Will it happen this year? Maybe in some markets, like where you're at in Austin, I bet it won't happen this year.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
But at some point it will happen, right? It's the law of economics. No market is infinitely sustainable,
Yeah.
right? Up or down. So then how do we prepare for that? And for the agents who have been through it before, they know what to do. But a lot of agents haven't. I mean, if we look at the population of agents and what percentage of them have been in the business for 10 years or less, that's a huge portion of our agent population. And so they've never experienced anything different than what they've been experiencing. So educating those agents and educating our fellow agents on, hey, when things change, there's certain things that, what we do to help someone buy or sell a home is the same, but the conversations we have, the expectations that need to be set, the education that we need to provide to a consumer to help them understand what we understand, because they're not in it every day. A seller who's seen the market doing this says, hey, I want to price up here because I've seen the market doing this. Now, we may know the market's doing, maybe doing this. And if we let them price up there, we're doing them a huge disservice. And so we have to be able to educate them and show them what's going on, because all they know is what they've witnessed over the last few years with their neighbors' home sellings or their friends' home sellings or their relatives' home sellings. They aren't studying it daily like we are to really understand what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I think it's important for agents to realize that they need to start practicing those tactics now, right? Because they're going to be better leveraged, right? And that's why, we push, video, right? Do a monthly video, right? Get in, we're all, when there's 19,000 agents in Austin, they're vying for attention, right? So do the things that very few are doing. And so that when the whole drops out of the world, that you'll be memorable. If you wait until that happens, someone else is going to get that attention, not you,
Yeah. And so, what's interesting too about our industry, things sort of, it's like a pendulum that swings back and forth. There's times where everyone's doing something and doing something similar. And that's the time that you want to look and say, hey, what can I do that's different? For example, there were times where like door knocking was huge and lots of people out there door knocking. And then it swings the other way where no one's doing it. Well, if no one's doing it and you start doing it in an area, you're going to get conversations with a lot of people that other agents aren't connecting with. And that could be a huge opportunity. And I'm just using that as an example.
It's a great example. Direct mail, the home valuations. We quit doing home valuation leads, years ago, and now we're starting back up again.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing point. Yeah. What's next for you and Ojo Labs?
We're going to, we've been experiencing really great growth. We more than doubled our revenue from 2020 to 21. We have big plans for 2022. Ultimately, like any growth company, we hope that we'll either become a public company or someone will offer us a bunch of money and want to own us. And that's the plan. Keep building a valuable company and like a lot of companies, we're at the stage now where we've had a lot of growth and now there's a lot of opportunity to optimize and become more efficient and more effective.
Yeah.
It's similar to an agent's business. A lot of times when an agent starts off, just based on pure effort and enthusiasm, they'll get to a certain level. But to get to the next level, they have to really learn to become more efficient, more effective. Because there's only so much drive and enthusiasm. That's only going to get you so far. And then you got to add in skills, you got to add in systems, you got to add in better processes. And our business is just like an agent's business in that respect.
Yeah. Well, for people that are watching, where can they find you? You have an Instagram. Oh, and let's not forget, you've got a great podcast as well. What are the?
Yeah, so they can So yeah, on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. My email is cheller@OjoLabs. So I'm pretty easy to find. I will
What about your
I'll,
podcast? Is there a site for that?
there's not. I was actually doing that with a local Austin company called Agent Advice. So if you go to agentadvice.com, you'll see there's a lot of great podcasts on there,
Yep.
and soon to be more. I am, and this is maybe this is a plug. I don't know if this is a plug or not. But I was gonna say what spurned the thought. You said, how can people find me? You're probably gonna be able to find me a lot more because I have a book that is about to be published, that'll be coming out, and so that'll people will hopefully hear and see about that. It's a short read. It's a business parable, and it's a quick read, but it's something that is written with the idea of it's not real estate specific, but it will definitely make sense to a lot of real estate agents, and I think they'll get a lot of value out of it.
Well, that's awesome. Let us know. We'll share it with all our channels, and it's
we're a month or two away, so I'll let you know when that's.
Yeah.
When it's,
well, it's always good to talk with you, Don Heller, and and hope to see you soon. Thanks for being on our broadcast.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me.